Chronic spontaneous urticaria, or chronic hives with no known cause. It's so unpredictable. It's like playing pinball. Itchy, red bumps start on my arm, then my back. Sometimes my legs. Hives come out of nowhere. And it comes and goes. But I just found out about a treatment option at treatmyhives.com. Take that, chronic hives. Learn more at treatmyhives.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary listeners, heroes and heroines, crooks and crookions, sticks. The audio performance you are about to enjoy discusses casinos and gambling. We do not recommend gambling with money you cannot afford to lose or that is needed to pay bills. If you have a gambling problem, contact your problem gambling hotline. If you do not know how to contact your problem gambling hotline, send an email to help@casinocombat.com. We will find that number for you and provide it to you. Our host's past performances are not indicative of anyone's future performance, including his own. All materials presented here are based on actual facts. Names and dates are changed to protect the innocent and the guilty. Some events unrelated to outcomes may be omitted in the interest of brevity and clarity. The contents of this episode are the property of Volcanic Dingo LLC. All rights reserved.
It's me, it's TRG, the Rambin Gambler, just trying to make a living and doing the best I can.
Lyrics, dude. Recite him some lyrics.
Welcome to the Grand Illusion. Come on in and see what's happening. Pay the price, get the ticket for the show. If you think your life is complete confusion because you never win the game, just remember that it's a grand illusion and deep inside we're all the same. I don't know if all this is a grand illusion or not, but certainly welcome to episode 177 of our Casino Combat podcast. If this is your first time, a very special welcome to you and thank you for the gift of your time. You have already paid the price. You do have a ticket for this show just by clicking on the link or the tile that you saw for the first time. So indeed, in that sense, welcome to the grand illusion. And if by chance you saw a gambling podcast and thought my life is complete confusion and I never win the game, well, deep inside we are all the same and you can win the game of casino gambling. That is not a game that you can never win. And because we are all the same and many members of the Casino Combat Squad win the game of casino gambling on a regular basis, I know that if we can, you can too, and we can teach you if you don't know how. If this is your first time, don't be overwhelmed. Don't be overcome. I've been doing this for quite a while now. The Casino Combat Galaxy that has been created is a sprawling place, and over time we have explored a variety of tools, an entire arsenal of tools, you might say, for winning the game of casino gambling. My advice, sit back. See if you enjoyed this episode. See if this is a bit of crazy that you think might be actually useful in your life. If you like what you hear, if you would like to win more than you lose, if you would like to travel on your casino play and not pay for your travel, if you would like to be part of a squad of people that do the same exact thing, we are here to help, and this is your gateway into our Casino Combat Galaxy. If you're going to stick around, you will want to understand TRG2, always be grinded, and TRG4, win more, keep more, two wagering systems that I created that myself and others have tested for years now, and that we know for a fact can be used to consistently win games that are a 50-50 wager. Blackjack with basic strategy, Baccarat, pass don't pass craps. You can learn those by listening to episodes 62, 63, and follow that up with episode 95. Go to the casinocombat.com website, spell combat with a K, of course. In the Fred section, you can download flowcharts that will teach you those two wagering systems. Also, check out the Boot Camp playlist on our YouTube channel. It's a series of short lessons that will teach you the core concepts of casino combat, and finally, and perhaps most importantly, If understanding what we do and how we do it is important to you, and you are not finding what you need, ask. Join the Casino Combat Squad Facebook page and ask any questions you would like. Someone will point you in the right direction. Or email me, trg@casinocombat.com, spell combat with a K, and just ask. I'll be happy to help you in any way I can. Mission 1 for this podcast is to help people understand how to win the game of casino gambling on a consistent basis. All right. Every episode, I put together something I like to call the battle plan. The segments we're going to do as part of this episode. We are going to have a great episode. I got a whole great big stack here. We're going to go for longer than a minute, that's for sure. It is going to be a great episode. We are going to start with questions my sons ask, or in this case, questions that Dr. East Coast Emissary, fourth to the ring, happens to ask. He had a couple of good ones recently, and I wanted to share my answers with all of you. Then we're going to share a moment of casino wisdom. I want to share a story from our recent cruise that illustrates the applications of a few different casino wisdoms, and then the humorous way that kind of went sideways on me. I'm good, but I'm not perfect, and in this case, I kind of missed the obvious a little bit, or maybe there was a language barrier. We'll find out when we have a moment of casino wisdom today. After that, we're going to have a Core Koncepts segment, and look at the application of one of the core concepts to the summer of travel my wife and I just experienced. I think it will provide an interesting perspective for all of you. Then I have a travel segment for you. I want to share our cruise experience, my impressions of the casino on the ship, and our results for the trip. In fact, having just said that out loud, T-Rex, let's not do that way. Let's flip those. It will make a lot more sense to everyone if we do the travel segment and then do the Core Koncepts segment after that. So let's reverse that order. After the Core Koncepts segment, we will hang out a little bit in the virtual VIP lounge for some sips and some commentary. I guess let's call it commentary. Some commentary that you might get from me if we were sitting together in a VIP lounge on the difference between being a Rusty or a Papagorgio. There we go. That's the battle plan. Questions my sons ask, a moment of casino wisdom, travel, Core Koncepts, and virtual VIP lounge. Before we kick all of that off, I do have huge news from the Casino Combat Galaxy. We have not one, but two new members of the Excelsior Brigade. Two people that listened to episodes and figured out the real-world name of my home casino, Casino 2. And both of the excellent members of our squad are now hanging out with us in the Slack version of the Virtual VIP Lounge, an exclusive club of gambling philosophers and data collectors. Our first new Excelsior Brigade member is Dice Dispatcher, and he is joined by Committee's Choice. To my knowledge, Committee's Choice is the first person to use AI to sort out the clues to the name of my home casino. Very clever stuff. Very well done. Gentlemen, thank you both for joining the Excelsior Brigade. Thank you very much for playing along. We appreciate it, and we appreciate having your input in the Slack Virtual VIP Lounge. Okay, let's get started on that battle plan with questions my sons ask.
What?
My sons ask questions about gambling, and in this case, in the Slack Virtual VIP Lounge, Inner Circle member Dr. ECE, fourth to the ring, asked a couple of amazing questions about gambling. So here is the story about the questions to get to the questions and then the answers. All of this is somewhat paraphrased and summarized, of course. The good doctor was hanging out at Ocean Resort and Casino in Atlantic City, and having already done some gambling, he's walking around the casino with some chips in hand, and he comes to an Ultimate Texas Hold'em machine, and he takes two black chips, those are $100 chips, out of a larger pile of chips and puts them on the table with his player's card as his buy-in. And the dealer says, "Just give me the entire stack." And Dr. ECE says, no, that's my buy-in. I'll just keep these. And the dealer says, "You'll get more points for your play if you buy in with the entire stack." So he went about his process with the chips that he had, and after the fact, the good doctor comes on Slack to ask if the dealer was right. And I said, no, it's what you bet and how many times you bet it, and the house advantage on that bet that determines your points. And his follow-up is where things got interesting. His follow-up questions were, 1, did I think the dealer had been trained to say that, to do that, to in fact provide false information knowing that it was false? Or 2, did I think the dealer was actually factually accurate and there are really extra points to be had from your buy-in? So here are my thoughts on those 2 items. I think, as with regards to the first item, I think the house is always trying to track players and chips at table games to any extent possible. Getting all of a stack of chips counted as part of a buy-in is something that they want to do, and they want to count them again on the way out. So while I doubt a dealer was specifically trained to tell players something false, I can see a pit boss and dealer conversation going something like this in the hypothetical. Pit boss Joe says, "Damn it, Jim. The shift boss wants us to do a better job of tracking the chips players had. We had a big meeting about it. You gotta try to get them to buy in with all the chips they have with them." And so then the dealer says, "I know, Joe, I know, but they don't want to a lot of times." And he says, "That's fine, Jim. Just tell them they get more points. They love points. Players want points. Just tell them that." Now, that's not training per se. That's just team talk to satisfy a management goal. And I'll also opine that a lot of dealers really don't understand how points and ADT and tier credits work. Many of them do, but many of them don't. It's not part of their job. The dealer's job is to run the game, protect the game, and to an extent entertain the guests to keep them playing. The rest of it, the points and all of that tier stuff, that is someone else's responsibility. It is outside their individual scope of work. Dr. ECE's second question is the one that I really want to focus on. Do I think it's factually accurate that buying in for more increases your tier score and as a result your ADT, your average daily theoretical? I do not. In fact, I am 100% sure it does not. I'll offer some nuance on that in a minute. I'll throw you some nuance, but factually, I know it's wrong. I know the buy-in does not matter. How do I know? How can I be so certain? I have multiple data points I trust completely, and I think you can trust those data points as well. Here they are. Item number 1. I work for a licensed casino hosting company. The company gets paid based on a player's ADT score, whether the player wins or loses. The company gets paid the same. If a larger buy-in equaled a larger ADT, my bosses would tell me it would be to everyone's advantage. Our players would get better comps, and we would get paid more. That's the bottom line. There would be every reason to tell us as players if this was true, but they don't. They always tell me and tell anyone who asks that ADT is your average wager multiplied by the house advantage multiplied by the number of times you make the wager. Your points are based on that. Now, some houses, some casinos do adjust a bit for estimated skill. They do throw another little factor in there. Some houses adjust a bit based on a specific type of game. But they never say, my bosses, the people that own the companies, they never say, Harris Kansas City estimates the buy-in and adds that. They never say, oh yeah, but make sure when you're at Stations Casinos in Las Vegas that you raise your buy-in because that brand takes your buy-in into account in determining your tier score. They don't say that, and they don't say that because it's not true. They would tell us if buy-in mattered to ADT because it would help everyone make more money, get more points, have a higher score. Everyone would benefit. If it was true, they would tell us. Data point number 2. I have been hosted in the past by other licensed independent hosts before I went to work for Premier Casino Hosting. And they tell their players, both of those other companies tell their players exactly the same thing that I just told you, and exactly the same thing that my bosses tell me and tell anyone else who asks. I probably know 4 or 5 independent hosts who don't work for Premier Casino Hosting, and they all teach exactly the same thing, which is the amount of your buy-in does not determine your points or your average daily theoretical score or your comps. Finally, and as or more importantly, all the common publicly available AI chatbots are more than capable of assuming the role of a casino host or a pit boss or a VP of player relations or whatever you want that to be. They are more than capable of acting as a functional casino executive. And I have discussed this point with all of them, and every single AI chatbot knows exactly how ADT works and explains it in the same way that all those human hosts explain it. And as important, the chatbots don't refuse to answer. There are AIs that refuse to help me create a gambling-related meme because promoting gambling is wrong, and they are not allowed to help with that task. I've worked out a series of non-gambling questions that determine if a given AI has public knowledge that it knows but will refuse to tell me. I know which AIs that I use will lie to me because of their programming, and I know how they demonstrate that refusal. All of them answer these basic questions all the same way. When I discuss ADT calculations and player comps, I never get an answer other than the one I gave to Dr. ECE. And further, I often put player information for a visit into an AI and ask what comps should be expected, and the math always works out according to the standard point formula. The idea here is that regardless of what any given dealer or pit boss says, we know with almost 100% certainty how points are calculated. And it has nothing to do with how much your buy-in is. It has nothing to do with how many chips are on the table and how many are in your pocket. If that mattered, we would know. We have both people and tools that confirms that what we know is accurate and that what the dealer told Dr. ECE is factually incorrect. But I also said there was some nuance here, and I want to finish up with that before we move on. The standard formula is average wager, house advantage, number of times the wager was made. Maybe an adjustment for skill. For small stakes players in a general population table, the average wager is estimated. If you're a bigger player at a bigger table playing bigger average wagers, they're paying attention to you. If you're the person playing green chips at a $15 minimum table, they are not tracking every single bet. They're making an estimate. And that estimate is often made by an overworked and under-attentive pit boss rating lots of players on lots of tables. Anything that influences a pit boss to put in a higher average wager number increases the player ADT. And that can be a smile, or it can be that they know you and like you, or that they know that you are tipping or have tipped in the past, or it could be the amount of your buy-in and your first couple of wagers. That's that nuance. No part of the calculation is your buy-in, but if a pit boss looks at your buy-in and assumes a higher average wager does drive the equation. I don't think that applies to the question Dr. ECE asked on an Ultimate Texas Hold'em table where there's going to look at your first 2 bets, but that's the nuance. The pit boss is going to make a decision. Let's look at a couple of illustrations then of how, while it's not part of the equation, it's not factually accurate that it matters, it could matter in the nuance of things. Okay, let's take a look at a couple of illustrations. Imagine you're the pit boss for an imaginary $15 minimum blackjack table, and a player in Crocs and old stained sweatpants on a Saturday night in Atlantic City buys in with 5 $5 bills, and 5 $1 bills. A total of $30 at a $15 minimum table. The first bet is $15. Are you inclined to think that the right average wager amount is probably $15 for that player? Is that what you'd be thinking? If I was that pit boss, that's what I'd be thinking. I think that would be my estimate. I mean, I'd probably go 17 just in case they win a hand or two and press up a little bit, but I'm not thinking that they are a $70 a hand average player. I'm not. Nothing about it suggests that. And I'm not thinking they're going to be around very long. I'm thinking we have all their money on the table and that quite likely they're going to make two $15 bets and leave. Now, admittedly, they could catch good cards early, and 40 minutes later, they could still be there playing, and their average bet could be $50 a hand, but a good initial estimated average is probably much closer to $15. And if I am the pit boss, while the amount of the buy-in has nothing to do with their points in terms of the formula, I am probably assigning them a slightly lower average wager. And maybe a good pit boss would go, well, that's why you're not a good pit boss, TRG. Could be. For the purposes of illustration only, your mileage may vary. Cards subject to change. Same table, same imaginary table limits. A gentleman comes to the table with his wife. He's wearing khaki pants, a nice button-down shirt, nice shoes. The wife is nicely dressed and is wearing a couple pieces of nice jewelry. Nothing over the top, but they are both appropriately dressed for a casual night on the boardwalk in Atlantic City. The gentleman gives his wife $300 and she gives it to the dealer and says all green, despite the minimum being $15 at this table. He hands over $1,000 and says half and half. And when the dealer starts to pull out red, he says, no, green and black, please. His first bet is $75. Her first bet is $25. As the pit boss, imagine yourself as the pit boss. What average are you putting in for them? If it's me, I'm putting her in at least 35, maybe a bit more. And I'm putting him in around 125. I'm assuming he didn't get 500 in black chips without planning to bet some of them. I could be wrong, right? I could certainly be wrong. They could each play one or two hands and then leave. And I may have to adjust things after the fact, but that's my initial estimate for their average wager. So for me, the nuance here is that the formula isn't impacted by that buy-in directly in any way. We know that. I can buy in for $1,000 or $200 at a $15 table and bet 15 a hand, and it doesn't matter what my buy-in was. And at the same time, the buy-in can be part of how the pit boss estimates your average wager, and a larger average wager will result in a higher ADT and a higher tier score. Great question. Great input from the squad. Always appreciate the good doctor bringing questions like that here so that so I can kind of expand on them and share those thoughts with all of you. All right, next on our battle plan is a moment of casino wisdom. For those of you new to casino combat, casino wisdoms usually combine information about how casinos work or knowledge about how players behave in a casino with an action to be taken in certain situations. They were created by myself and others as triggers or quick reminders so that we can recognize when to apply them. I had an opportunity on our most recent cruise to apply multiple casino wisdoms with an educational reveal of my own ignorance at the end of that process, so perhaps I'm a little wiser for the experience. So let me share the story and point out the wisdoms that could be applied along the way, and then what I learned from the process. I'll share our results in full in the travel segment that we're going to do, but the first night of our cruise was very successful from a casino point of view. The first blackjack table we sat down at cranked out positive exit after positive exit. And I'll tell you the wheres and whys of that in a few minutes. After going to the show, we made a nice profit playing craps. The following day was a day at sea, and after brunch, we took some time at the pool, got cleaned up, and made our way down to the casino, wanting to get in some time at the table before dinner. There were 2 $15 minimum blackjack tables open, and they were very busy. Easy for me to say. Eventually, 2 seats opened up, and we sat down. I won a couple of hands. Mrs. TRG, the radiant goddess of casino combat, was struggling a little bit, but then caught a blackjack with a 2-unit bet in the circle. She was quickly paid $60, and I realized I hadn't paid any attention. All the other Royal cruise ships that I've been on, if they had a 6-to-5 blackjack payout, they were limited to a single $5 or $10 table. I just assumed a $15 table would be 3-to-2. We'd never seen a $15 6-to-5 table on a Royal ship. So I quickly colored up, and the dealer asked why, and I said, I don't play 6-to-5. I just don't. He told me that the $25 minimum tables would be 3-to-2 when they opened later in the day. Cool, fine. Mrs. TRG looked annoyed at me. I told her I'd hang out, I'd coach, I'd happy to hang around. I'd order a cocktail when the guy came by. It's her money. She should play it however she wants, but I'm not playing 6-to-5. I'm just not. I had at that moment, for that table, a $50 profit. Mrs. TRG played a few more hands and watched 2 other players get blackjacks and collect smaller than normal payouts before she also decided to color up. The irony is that she was down $15 for that table. Exactly the amount she would have had if her blackjack had paid 3-to-2. We walked the casino floor and all the $25 tables were closed. The craps table was packed. The slot machines were packed. We had a casino problem. We had time to spend in the casino. We had money to spend in the casino or play. I hate that word spend. We had money to play in the casino. We wanted to play. We wanted to use that time well. It's a problem. Casino wisdom number 6 teaches us when there is a problem, remain calm and look for a casino solution. Casino wisdom number 77 teaches us if you don't ask, you don't get. So I went looking for a casino solution with that knowledge in my brain, and I flagged down the pit boss near a closed $25 table, and I asked the question, because if you don't ask, you don't get. And I said, do you know when this table will be open? Pointing to the $25 table. And he said, no, I'm sorry, I don't know. Okay, not helpful. I asked, but I didn't get. Not what I was looking for. But also not the last option available. We went over to the host station. I figured we could sort things out quickly there. No host on duty. I went back to the same pit boss and asked him if he knew when the host station would be staffed. He said usually continuously after 5 o'clock. All right, so not until after dinner. We had early dinner scheduled. Not much else I can do in the house at the moment. I've asked about the $25 table being opened and didn't get anywhere. The host desk is unstaffed. The pit boss didn't offer to call a host for me. It's just day one. I have my money in the safe. I have their money in my pocket. I just kind of went, okay, oh well, like your lost opportunity as a casino. I'm not going to sweat it. I'm not going to force it. I'm not going to make a big deal out of anything. So we went to Schooner Bar. We had a drink and we played some trivia. We had a great time. And while we were there, I realized that casino wisdom number 86 teaches us have allies. And I have allies. I jumped in the Premier Casino Hosting Facebook page and posted that I was in an unusual situation on a cruise and explained what had happened. Several people suggested asking them to open a table. I had. And if you heard that and think I'm making a fool of myself right now in this moment, you're right. You're just ahead of the story a little bit. Stick with me. We'll get to the punchline. Others in the Facebook group suggested that if a $50 table in high limit was open, that I ask if they would lower the limit since the $25 tables were closed. A good idea. I had not thought of that. I had not considered looking in a different part of the casino for a high limit table. A great thought from an ally. After dinner, we go back down to the casino and the $25 tables are still closed. But the host desk was open and staffed. So I have a new way to ask so I could get and find a casino solution. The host was very nice and quickly understood the situation. She told me to just ask the pit boss to open a $20 table and they would. And I said, I did that earlier. I asked him when the table would be open, and he said he didn't know. And she got this kind of little smile and said, Mr. Todd, if you ask him that, you did not ask him to open a table for you. You asked him when the table would be open, and he doesn't know that. It's based on what games are busy, but he will open a game for you if he can when you ask. And I realized in that moment that I hadn't really applied our casino wisdoms properly. I had politely looked for a casino solution to a casino problem, but I messed up the if you don't ask, you don't get part. I didn't ask for what I wanted. I wanted a table open. I asked for information and I got information. The pit boss didn't know when the tables would be open, and I didn't ask him to open them for me. And I suspect my use of English and his use of English may also have been at play there. I don't think English was his first language, and that's not unusual on a cruise ship. It's my responsibility to be aware of that. I assumed that when asking when the tables would be open, I implied I wanted to play. There was no reason for him to understand what I was implying. I didn't ask, so I didn't get. It also struck me that my allies had pointed me in the right direction. They told me to ask for a table to be opened, and I insisted I had. I hadn't. Once I realized my mistake standing there at the host's desk, I also realized I should now ask more specifically for what I wanted. I remembered that on many PCH dice cruises, Michael often arranges different rules for different players. Higher maximum bets in exchange for higher minimum bets. I remember Gator Gambling telling a story in the Slack virtual VIP lounge about a high table minimum player negotiating surrender at a blackjack table that didn't allow surrender. I told the host that my wife and I play mostly blackjack and never play for less than $25 a hand. I asked if we could all agree that for the rest of the cruise, all of our bets would be $25 or more, and that all blackjacks would pay, regardless of table minimum and posted rules, 3-2 for us. She asked me to wait for a minute. She returned with a VP of casino operations or something. I didn't take notes. It's not relevant to the story. She brought back an executive who was more than just a host. Introductions were made. He repeated my request. I said, yes, that's what I'm asking for. He said they would be happy to do that, but if at any point any of our bets at blackjack went below 25, then the agreement would end at that point. We couldn't go up and down with our minimums. That is exactly the kind of deal that Michael usually gets for players, so that was more than fine with me. The vice president recorded our players' card numbers, made a note in the computer, and told me he would let the pit bosses know. He said that I should notify dealers and remind the pit bosses if we sat down at a $15 table. Once I realized that in an effort to be polite, I hadn't asked for what I wanted, and that the mistake was mine, the entire situation was actually pretty funny. In the end, our wisdoms did exactly what they were supposed to do. I stayed calm. I went looking for a casino solution. My allies helped me. And in the end, when I figured out what to ask, everything got sorted out exactly the way I wanted them to be sorted out. My outline says the Core Koncepts segment is next, but I told T-Rex we were going to change that, so let me skip re-recording that part and do it right the first time. Let's squeal the tires. A travel segment is next. Let me preface this segment by saying I'm really aware that travel segments like this might come across as bragging or boasting, and I'm not trying to do that. There are plenty of people who can afford to buy all the cruises they want. I can't. Or, look, maybe a better way to say that is I wouldn't. Maybe that's the more appropriate word choice. There are plenty of people who gamble much larger sums than I do. They receive nicer cruises than I receive, better cabins than I receive, more free play than we receive. All those things are certainly true. I am not trying to brag. But I have come to enjoy cruising more than I enjoy a trip to the Las Vegas Strip. And I remain absolutely in awe of the cruise opportunities that my level of casino play are able to generate. And I am never here to say, look at me, look at me, look at me. I am always here to say, look what you can do too. Look what you can do also. And I'm happy to show you how to do it, and I'm happy to help you do the same things. Look, we run into this. I've had my lovely wife say, oh, I think so-and-so is jealous of us. And I always say, well, why? And I realize I come across as kind of, oh, well, why? And I get it. I get that part. I really do. But my point to her is always, and my point to all of you is always, they can do it too. They can come with us. Like, we'll be happy to bring them along. We'll be happy to show them how to do. We've done that. We very literally took two friends on the blackjack cruise with us, comped, and taught them how to play blackjack, and they left having earned plenty of points and having played blackjack virtually every day when the casino was open and with a cash profit. I don't want anyone to be jealous, and I don't want anyone to think I'm bragging. I'm simply amazed. I am amazed that what is, from my point of view, relatively small amounts of casino play can generate this immense travel benefit. This amazing thing that we get to do, and quite frankly get to do a little more often than we probably have any business doing it. I am amazed that if playing 50-50 wagers to a 50-50 outcome allows me to travel the world at a free or deeply discounted rate, I'm all about doing that and making it happen. I am amazed it is a thing. Honestly, I'm still amazed every time as a casino says to me, thanks for coming, here's a nice room for you to stay in. If I can do this, you can do this. Other people can do this. We've shown other people how to do this. That is the purpose of this travel segment. The purpose of this travel segment is not to say, look at me and look at this amazing thing that I got. The purpose of this segment is to, you can do this too. This isn't hard. This isn't you don't have to be some amazing player. You don't have to be a card counter. You don't have to have huge sums of money to do this, to travel on the basis of your skilled play. Long disclaimer, long preamble. We sailed in a comped balcony cabin on Royal Caribbean's Ovation of the Seas from Los Angeles for 6 nights. And the crazy thing about this comp is that we received this offer like 16 months before we went via a postcard from Royal Caribbean. So we get this postcard in the mail, and I'm looking at it, and the available dates match my wife's 61st birthday. And it was a longer sailing with an overnight stay in Cabo San Lucas. And I really wanted to sail on a Quantum class ship, which in a crazy bit of irony, we actually did earlier this summer when we were in Alaska. And until that moment in time where I got this postcard, everything that we got sailing out of LA was 2 or 3 nights that went to Catalina and then Ensenada. And I always would say to my wife, I'm not flying all the way to LA through multiple time zones, paying for a night of a hotel just to sail to an American island and one place in Mexico and sail back and get on a plane and fly back. So when we got the invitation for a balcony on this 6-night cruise, I said to my wife, I know we have not taken your cruise for your 60th birthday yet, but can I go ahead and schedule your 61st birthday cruise now? And as we were just getting ready to do her 60th birthday Bermuda extravaganza tour at the time, she said, what are the taxes and fees going to be? And I told her, and she asked how was I going to pay for those and pay the expenses associated with her upcoming birthday trip. And I said, I'd figure that out before I booked it, but otherwise, could I book it? Could I please book it? I really want to book this. And she said yes, and then a few days later, I won more than enough money playing blackjack to pay the taxes and the fees, And so I booked it. ABC, always be casinoing. Wonderful cruise. We spent 2 days in port at Cabo San Lucas, where we rode camels and took a small boat out to see the arch at the end of the world. We toured a winery and the original casino where the margarita was invented before doing some shopping in Ensenada. We spent some wonderful days at sea. The food was great. The shows were great. Did I say I'm still amazed that this is just a comp that was offered to me? I think I said that. I'm not sure that I said that. Let me say it one more time. I am constantly amazed. I constantly sit in a state of gratitude and stunned amazement that people send me a postcard and say, hey, would you like to go down to the tip of the world and hang out in Cabo San Lucas for a couple days? We just need you to pay the taxes and fees and show up with a suitcase in your hand. Absolutely amazed by that. Absolutely amazed that that is something that we get to do. Absolutely wonderful. Did I mention that we rode camels? Did I mention that? We did. We rode camels. We had an early dinner on the beach looking at the Pacific Ocean and a wonderful sunset while we sampled tequila. And I also had a couple of other adventures that I'm going to save for the Spotify video channel. Nothing related to results, just some little stories for the trip, couple little trinkets and things I want to show you, couple fun TRG stories for the trip that I'll put on the Spotify video channel a day or two after this comes out. Ovation is a Quantum class ship, a bit smaller than an Oasis class ship, but larger than a Liberty class ship. One of the things I like about Quantum class ships is that compared to both larger and smaller ships that we've been on, the casino is much larger and has a better layout. And the casino bar is much larger and much nicer. Casinos on cruise ships are often available as a smoking location for smokers. Having been on 2 Quantum class ships this summer, my observation is they handle smoke removal very, very well. Royal Caribbean has been going through a process of freshening the slot machines on their ships. Ovation has not received those new machines yet. We found the slot machine selection on this ship to be poor for us, for what we like to play. They had a few newish Dragon Link machines that Mrs. TRG does like, but they were constantly busy. And a lot of older machines. From a slot play point of view, we struggled with poor machine selection and almost every machine being busy all of the time. And to illustrate just how busy the machines were, there was a honey bear themed machine that we had never seen that Mrs. TRG thought looked cute, that she wanted to play. She checked it multiple times a day for 4 days before she found it open and available and a chance to play. And that was the last opportunity she got to play that machine on the entire cruise. There was a Magic Lamps themed machines that I see from time to time in other casinos and consider playing, but usually see things that I like more and know more about. And since I didn't find most of the machines that I normally look for on this ship, that Magic Lamps machine was a target for me the entire trip. I checked it every time we entered and every time we left the casino at a minimum. I checked it other times as well. I never found it without someone playing it. To show you how true this is, I went through the casino one day just as we were leaving port, knowing that the machines would open up once the ship got out into international waters 12 miles out, and there was someone sitting at that machine a good 35 minutes before the casino was going to open, waiting to play that machine. Not that I would have sat there and waited for the 30 minutes, but that shows you just how incredibly busy the machines were, and then from my point of view, the old, somewhat outdated machines on this cruise were. They were super busy. On a lot of casino cruises, the casino's sort of busy the first night and maybe on a day at sea, but otherwise we always find a space at a table or a machine to play. Not only were all the machines full all the time, but most blackjack seats were usually occupied. We've been on ships where we never saw more than 2 or 3 people at a time playing craps the entire cruise. And this cruise, the craps table was constantly packed, and there was some big action. There was a lady playing almost constantly, and she always had multiple black chip don't bets in action on every shooter. It was a good thing that this ship has a large casino and a large casino bar, because there were gamblers on this ship and they kept the place busy. Every minute it was open. I was glad at one point that Dr. ECE had given me a Ultimate Texas Hold'em lesson, and Nakatomi Tony had given me a strategy card for Ultimate Texas Hold'em, because I needed that extra option. Or not needed, but it was good to have that extra option. It was good to have that extra tool, that extra knowledge. I played a few hands of Texas Hold'em here and there when we were on our way to or from something, and won some money playing Texas Hold'em on this trip. Good money, money I was happy to have. We had a lot of gambling success on this trip, and that may have been in part because I changed up my play style just a little bit, and I want to tell you about that. I've said many times that if you stay within the core concepts, wagering systems, buy-in, unit sizes, etc., 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 are just like a pile of Lego. With Lego, you can build a variety of different airplanes in a lot of different ways, and they still look like airplanes. With the core concepts, you can build a lot of different wagering plans in a lot of different ways and still be within the core concepts. We did not play as much as we normally do on the Alaska cruise for a variety of reasons. We have continued to get Royal Caribbean offers, but admittedly, those offers have been a bit less attractive, I suspect, admittedly, as a result of that somewhat lower play. We're still getting plenty of offers, but they're less balcony offers and more ocean view offers. I wanted to boost my ADT this trip by boosting my average wager. I also wanted to protect my overall bankroll and have the opportunity for plenty of attempts. So for this trip, no Rapier constructed buy-ins, no meta martingale and taking a 1,500 theoretical loss the first night if things went badly. My plan was very simple and somewhat different than I've laid out for you in the past. And I don't know that I would recommend this as a beginner. I'm making these adjustments as someone with a lot of experience playing how I play and the way I play. Normally, I would start with a $25 unit size and a 10 unit buy-in. That's $250 as a buy-in. A fair average wager playing that way is around $35 a hand. Think about it. Your first bet's $25, and if you lose your second bet's $50 if you're using TRG4 win more, keep more. An average hand of $35 is a very fair amount to have entered. But I wanted for this trip a perceived average wager that would be larger than that it would be a larger amount that would boost that ADT score. So my plan for this cruise was each buy-in would be $300 and the unit size would be $50. With a $300 buy-in and a $50 unit size, I have 6 units to work with. I'll accept the idea that if TRG4 has lost 6 units from the win stack, it may recover with the remaining 2 units before taking an 8-unit negative exit. It might. It does happen. I've done it many, many times, but it often does not. Playing this way, I'll take the 6-unit loss, pocket any minor win stack, and record the loss. And if I get to a full play stack of 6 units and a win stack of 4 units, that's a $200 win. And I'm going to pull back the original play stack and pull back $125 of the win and do a $25 unit size and a 3-chip exit with 3 green chips from there. When the 3-chip exit is complete, one way or another, it is either mark my spot, I'll be back for the next shoe, or honey, I'm going to sit out a hand or two and record these results, then I'll start over again at a $50 unit size. My plan was to be happy with recording multiple small wins multiple times per day and show an average wager closer to 100 than it was to 25. And at the same time, play plenty of lower risk $25 hands, and maybe an astute pit boss notices that and pushes me down a little bit, but I will say that every time I ask, my average wager was much closer to $100 than it was to 25. And if I lost my first buy-in for an evening, I'd do a second buy-in the same way and work to recover what was lost $125 at a time. That first buy-in loss did not happen very often, and when it did, the win stack was often around $100 or so. So a couple of positive exits with the second buy-in quickly fixed everything and got me back on the positive side for the session or for the day. From a number of units point of view, 4 is a fairly easy win number to reach, right? On that 1 unit is easy to win, infinite units is impossible to win scale, 4 is much closer to 1 than it is to infinity. Think about this from a TRG4 point of view. Think about this from the point of view of playing win more, keep more. Win the first hand, that's a full play stack and 1 unit in the win stack. Lose the next hand, the following bet is 2 units. In this case, $100. If you happen to double that and win, you have a full play stack and another 150 added to the win stack. You have 4 units won. You have a 4 unit or $200 stack in your win stack. $500 total in front of you in 2 stacks. Pull back the original $300 buy-in, pull back the $125 of profit, 3 green chips to play a 3-chip exit. Or it doesn't have to be that. It can just be any little run on the progressive side. Any little situation where you go, oh, I won 50 and put it in the win stack. I won 50 again and put it in the win stack. My next bet is 75. I'm on the progressive side of TRG4. I'm going to go up by half. The half comes from the win stack. The main bet comes from the play stack. I win that. We're real close to that 4 units. It doesn't take much to get to a 4 unit point at $50 a hand. Put back a little bit of your profit. Know you have a profit. Play the 3-chip exit. The first night, the first table, I was doing 2 positive exits per shoe. Just easily, organically, simply. I had multiple 3-chip exits that went on for a while. I had a 3-chip exit that went on for almost 2 shoes and more than quadrupled my original exit amount. We went to a show. After the show, we came back and we decided to play it smart. We would take a fraction of what we had won and go over to the craps table, because even if we lost all of that buy-in, we would still have a nice win for the day. We'd still be in the casino, we'd still be enjoying our evening, we'd still be enjoying our cocktails, we'd still be earning some tier credits, we'd still be adding to our ADT, but it's a $10 craps table. We played a very conservative couples strategy with, as I said, just a portion of the money. Once the point was established, Mrs. TRG would place a $30 bet either on the 6, unless the 6 was the point, then she would bet $25 on the 5. I would do the same thing with the 8, or if needed with the 9. As a couple, we're on 2 numbers. As soon as either of us hit on either number, we drop our bets down, both of us to the table minimum. We have a small profit for this shooter and this hand, and we are still in the game, and we can now press or expand and press from there. People on the table the first night had long rolls. Mrs. TRG and I each had long rolls. We both more than doubled our buy-in after a very long crap session. By the end of night 1, our money was locked in the safe, and we were walking into the casino the following day with their money in our pocket. We never looked back. We did have a losing table here or there, but we never had a losing day on this cruise. Most days we had a profit quickly from blackjack or blackjack and ultimate Texas Hold'em, and took a portion of that to the craps table to just hang out and repeat that process and earn a few more points. Financially, it was a great cruise. Let's run through the numbers. Compliments of track. Tactical results analysis of casino combat. If you are not familiar, if you are unfamiliar with track, just as a Jedi builds his or her own lightsaber, you can build your own tool to track your casino play using online tools that are available on the internet for free that run on your phone. The tool is custom to you and how you want to build it, and it's about what you want to monitor in your casino play. On our Spotify video channel, I have created a video that walks you through the entire process of building track for yourself using files available to download on our website, casinocombat.com, in the Fred section. All of these results that I'm about to share with you are in the if I earned $1 a day format. We use that because different people in different places earn different amounts of money in a typical day. Some of us gamble in places where tables have $5 minimums, and that's normal. Others of us play in places where a $50 minimum is the norm. We all know what we earn in a day. We all know what winning or losing a day's pay means in our life. So now, know your number. And if I say we received comps worth $2.15 a day, that is not saying the value of that would have been $2.15. That's saying it was a little more than 2 days' pay in comps. Take your number, your day's pay, multiply it by 2.15, and you can gauge what the comp would have been worth to you. So, here goes. Let me find it. Let me pull this up and run through the numbers for you very quickly, very clearly. Profit or losses from table games on this cruise, $11.96 in the $1 a day scale. We won almost 12 days' pay. We won almost the amount of money I would earn working for 2 weeks. Just a little short. Just a little bit short, right? Would have used another day or two there, but almost 12 days pay. Almost the equivalent of working 12 days in one cruise. We did lose money playing slots, unfortunately. We lost 56 cents on the $1 a day scale playing slots with our own money using TRG slot strategy El Numero Dos. Did take a loss. We'll get to the number of machines here in a minute. Wow, that was a lot. For a place where we didn't like the machines very much, we played a lot. I'll get to that in a second. We received on the cruise 13 cents in free slot play. Not very much. Most of that was on the back end. But we received 13 cents in free slot play, and we won 9 cents on the $1 a day scale. So slots combined, we took a small loss. We lost 47 cents playing slots, the equivalent of 47 cents. A little less than half a day's pay lost playing slot machines. Total gambling profit or loss, $11.42. Expenses were high. I've included the plane tickets. I've included the hotel room, the drink package, the excursions, all of it. We had $6.77, almost a week's pay, almost 7 days pay, so not a full work, or not a work week, but a full calendar week. We had almost 7 days pay in expenses. So our profit and loss on this cruise after expenses was $4.65. But let that kind of sink in. Let's focus on that for a minute. We went on a comped cruise. We paid for all the expenses. The cruise was 6 nights. We walked off with just short of 5 days' pay in profits. I often say, and it's important to me, and it has meaning to me, but I often say I don't go on vacation. I just live other places. This is the example of that. They comped me the cruise. I earned all the money to pay for the cruise. And I made the equivalent of working a full 5-day week while I was on the cruise. I could have stayed home and worked and made the same money. It's more than fine. Comps on this cruise. We have the comp value estimated at $5.33. If I worked, if I earned $1 a day, $5.33. So in cash, almost a full week's pay. In comps, almost a full week's pay. I received no match bets. I received no free bets. And we received no gifts while we were on the cruise. Let's dig into the details just a little bit more. Blackjack tables played. This is blackjack And tables played isn't accurate, but attempts, right? From the start of the attempt to either a positive or a negative exit. 45 tables played, 33 winning tables, 33 winning attempts. Let's say it that way. 45 attempts made, 33 were positive, 12 were negative exits, 12 losing attempts. We made very good money playing blackjack, about 10 days pay playing blackjack in the $1 a day scale. We played 3 craps attempts, and I got to admit, this is the great part of pulling up this data. I would have said we played a lot more craps than that. I guess I'm forgetting the number of times we attempted to play craps and the table was full, which may lead to the next number we're going to talk about here in a second. So 3 attempts at craps, 1 winning, 2 losing. As I said before, all good stuff. We won about a day's pay playing craps after taking out the losses. So about $1 playing craps. No complaint there. Really happy with where craps fit in on this cruise. Table was busy. Getting in was the problem. Not finding other people who wanted to play. We had a great time doing it. It was a great way to spend time, have some cocktails, hang out, add some points. Because I think getting on the craps tables were hard, we had 25 slot machines played with cash. 25 slot machines played with our own money. 14 of them were winning, 11 of them were losing. We had no big hand pays or anything of that nature. We lost just about a half day's pay playing slots. Not great. Kind of about normal and average, right? The losses are a little bigger. I will also say that in that process, I have started working on a further evolution of TRG slot strategy El Numero Dos. We do have some refinements to that we're going to be coming out with. Learned a few things, observed a few things, kind of had some derivations on the trip. We had no chance to flip pigs. We've started tracking flipping pigs as its own thing, but we did not have a chance to do any pig flipping because none of the appropriate machines were on this particular cruise ship. A wonderful cruise, a nice win, a wonderful way to wrap up the summer, a busy 2025 cruise schedule. Honestly, we should probably do one more, or we would, maybe not should, we're not going to. We would probably do one more cruise in 2025. We have plenty of offers, we have plenty of opportunities. I love the idea of fitting a cruise in sometime between Thanksgiving and Christmas. However, we have a new grandchild arriving in the next 5 or 6 weeks. We need to be around to help out with that and to meet the new addition to our squad locally. So despite a time window here and plenty of opportunities and plenty of revenue generated, we're not going to take that one more cruise. We are fortunate and blessed and amazed to be able to do this kind of travel. We started the summer cruising the Northern Pacific. We went on an expedition with the squad to the Caribbean from New York City. We finished the summer cruising the South Pacific. In the process, I realized that we had an almost perfect application of the Core Koncepts. And we are going to do a Core Koncepts segment next, and I will lay all of that thinking out for you then.
Hi, I'm here to pick up my son Milo. There's no Milo here.
Who picked up my son from school?
Streaming only on Peacock.
I'm gonna need the name of everyone that could have a connection.
You don't understand. It was just the 5 of us.
So this was all planned.
What are you gonna do? I will do whatever it takes to get my son back.
I honestly didn't see this coming. These nice people killing each other.
All Her Fault, a new series streaming now only on Peacock. With new, gentler scented Clorox disinfecting wipes, clean finally smells as good as it feels. On everything from lamps to ceiling fans, even on your kid's toy shark. Oh, ouch. Clorox disinfecting wipes, now available in crisp lemon. Find it on Amazon. Clorox, clean feels good.
The core concepts of Casino Combat are the foundational ideas, the concepts, spelled with a K of course, that I think are essential to good, solid, fundamental gambling. They are the basis on which everything else that we do is built. They are available if you're not familiar with them, if you cannot write them down, if you cannot explain them to your skeptical uncle. They are available as a blog post on our website, casinocombat.com, in the blog section. They're also covered in the early podcast episodes in sequence. I'm going to say 1 through about 10 episodes. And in Boot Camp with a K, in that playlist on YouTube, I did all the core concepts as short, simple, kept out the jokes and stories to the extent possible. Short, little, 10-minute episodes, 10-minute things that you can play through in a very short period of time and understand the core concepts of Casino Combat. But it's been a minute since we ran down those, so let me do this very, very quickly for you. Let me run through the core concepts. Number 1, learn to play one of the 5 casino games with wagers where the house advantage is relatively small versus the player, and a reasonable amount of tier credits are awarded when you play that game. That would be blackjack, baccarat, craps, or roulette. Honestly, we might throw Pai Gow in there at this point in time. We might throw Ultimate Texas Hold'em in there. As we explore this idea more, we add some more things to the list, but the idea, the concept remains: house advantage is very, very small on the wagers we want to make, and we want tier credits to be awarded appropriately for that play. Concept 2, learn a wagering process that includes both progressive and regressive attributes. Progressive, increasing your bet after a win or series of wins. Regressive, increasing your wager after a loss or a series of losses. We are not going to flat bet and try to win. Concept number 3. Have a bankroll of money you can afford to lose that is larger than needed for the game, unit size, and wagering process you intend to use. We are not going to do Casino Combat undercapitalized. Get and use a player's card from every casino you play in and look for ways to upgrade that card by way of tier match with reward systems for other casinos, hotel chains, airlines, and cruise lines. Number 4, have the discipline to win a small set amount of money and leave, or lose a small amount and leave. And that would be leave the table or leave the building, depending on factors of time and distance. Concept number 6. In the end, try to win over the long run, the month, the quarter, or the year, not the machine or the day. And finally, if you have losses in the long run, make up those losses with comps and gifts from the casino or with money won in prior or future months. That is the formula for winning the game of casino gambling. It's a good thing we got a chance to go through those again. It's always good to run those down. The core concept that I wanted to focus on today, the core concept that jumped out at me as I thought about our summer cruise schedule, is play for the month, not the machine, the table, or the day. And I said that as part of the core concept that I just talked about there, but that's just a way of saying play for the long run. I tend to think a month at a time because I play very frequently. A day where I do not play is fairly rare. This could be play for the trip, or play for the quarter, or play for the year. As I said, this is play for the long run. And today I want to quickly talk you through our summer of cruises through the lens of this very important core concept, playing for the long run. The gambling on our Alaska trip to start the summer was tough. Tough because we got beat up a bit in the first few days. Tough because the casino schedule was weird because we arrived in ports and left ports at strange times. For example, we had a day where early in the morning, like 5 a.m. early, the ship spent time cruising a glacier. We ordered food for the room, wrapped ourselves in robes, and looked at the unique scenery. Then the ship turned around. The casino opened. And that was fine, but we went back to bed. We had been up since very early in the morning. By the time that we were up and showered and fed, the casino was closing because we were going to be back in American waters, and they were getting ready to dock at 4 p.m. for excursions that would go on until 9 p.m. Once the ship was back out to sea, a little after 10 o'clock p.m., the casino opened. But we were ready for bed. We had another early morning the next day getting off the ship. We were not going to go get into a blackjack game at that time of night, given the rest of the schedule. Compared to other cruises, we did relatively little gambling on that trip, and we took a loss. It was a great experience, and I reviewed our total play with Royal Caribbean when we returned, and we were still up on them in cash for the length of our relationship with Casino Royale, with Royal Caribbean and their casino. That didn't make the loss and the lack of opportunity to recover feel any better. We then had a nicely profitable cruise on Premier Casino Hosting's first blackjack cruise with the squad, and we had lower expenses since we didn't fly anywhere as part of that cruise. And finally, we finished the summer cruise season with the cruise that we just took and just discussed, and a very solid win. We play for the long run. It's not fun when we lose, but the cruises we took this summer nicely illustrate how correct this core concept is. In the long run, we took 3 great comped cruises, paid for the expenses of all 3, and have a small profit besides. Add in the AC profits, add in the profits from my local casino, where I've been playing a little bit more sparingly due to poor comps this summer, and it's been a very, very profitable summer. You could have looked at that Alaska cruise, and I always worry about people who do casino combat once and take that loss and don't do the second or the third to have the aggregate win, to see the big picture. It would have been easy enough, with a lack of experience, with a lack of knowledge, with a lack of insight, it would have been very easy to look at that Alaska cruise and go, well, that sucks. We got smacked early during a day at sea, and then we couldn't play much for this reason, and then we couldn't play much for that reason, and then we didn't feel like playing, and then we ended up doing more things that were wildernessy, and then we played a little bit more in one just to let, it cost money. Yeah, it was Alaska. Yeah, it was beautiful. Yeah, the cruise was wonderful. But boy, the gambling wasn't. It'd be easy to look at that in a vacuum and say that. It's a much different picture when you look at the summer, when you look at 3 cruises and a quick trip to Atlantic City, and you see that all of the expenses, including air expense for 2 cruises, was paid. All of the other expenses for the cruises were paid. The drink packages were paid. The Wi-Fi was paid. The excursions were paid. All of that was taken care of. And there is still a small profit besides in cash, in addition to the value of the comps and cruises. That is why this core concept teaches play for the long run. Play for the month. Play for the summer. Play for the quarter. Play for the cruise season. Don't play for the table, the machine, or even the day. When we look at our summer of travel, when we look at the amazing opportunities that we had, this core concept is right on. We had to ignore the first trip of the summer. We had to rely on what we knew worked. And in the end, we sit here having wrapped up our cruises for the year with a nice profit for the process, a wonderful set of cruises taken, and stacks of postcards inviting us to go on other cruises. All right, we are going to adjourn to the virtual VIP lounge for some sips and a very, I hope, interesting segment. I recorded it very spontaneously a few days ago. It is completely off the cuff. It is completely unscripted. Nakatomi reviewed it. He took a listen to it at my request. He said he thinks it's good stuff and I should publish it. So here you go, the virtual VIP lounge.
A little bit of the bubbly.
Welcome to the most must-listen-to segment in casino lifestyle podcasting, the virtual VIP lounge. Our lounge is open and we have the best virtual everything, virtually all the time. Best virtual food and drink served in any virtual VIP lounge, anywhere on the interwebs. Guaranteed or your money back.
All right. Come on in, find a seat. I'll be honest, I'm not sure exactly where this is going, But I've got some things in my head. I am going to ramble at you a little bit. I hope there are some kernels of wisdom, some nuggets of truth in what's kind of rattling around in my brain. As always, if you can, press pause, pour yourself an adult beverage, pour yourself a root beer if it's too early in the day for an adult beverage, fix a plate if you would like to. The Best VIP Lounge offer a wonderful combination of food, drinks, old and new friendships, people to share stories with, people to share point of views with. That's what we try to do with this space. And I've kind of had several different interesting conversations over the last few days. Some thoughts rattling around in my head around those conversations for the last few days. And I thought I'd try to capture these ideas, and I'm not even entirely sure how well I'm going to capture them. And that's okay. That's kind of what this space was like. If you were sitting somewhere with me in a VIP lounge and we got into a conversation and I'd had a couple, this might exactly be the kind of thoughts you would hear. And maybe you'd agree with and not, or maybe you'd have some input of your own. And I'm happy to hear those if you have them. Today happens to also be the start of Major League Baseball playoffs. One of our local teams is involved with that. I did pop open a light beer as I kind of share these thoughts, and then I'm going to try to get into and enjoy the game a little bit. And what I wanted to talk to you about today, this kind of noise inside my head, is if you get involved with this, if you get involved particularly with me and with Premier Casino hosting, and you start to understand how this works, you kind of stop being a tourist, a civilian, and I did do air quotes with those, and it is different. It is really different. I want you to think back to Mr. Papagorgio and how Mr. Papagorgio got treated and how he got pulled into a whole bunch of things with some guys who knew what was what and knew how things worked and were old-timey casino people. And if you don't know who Mr. Papagorgio is, if that's not a name, a character, a personality, a situation that you're completely familiar with, you're forgiven. No harm, no foul. That's okay. But you do have now a little homework. TRG issued homework. If you don't know who Mr. Papagorgio is, you need to go find out. You need to go get that reference. You need to be familiar with that. You cannot make the transition I'm talking about from tourist or civilian into established player, into semi-professional player, into in-the-know player. I'm not trying to put too many labels on it here. I'm not trying to make it sound like more than it is. But if you're going to be someone who knows what they know, you got to know who Mr. Papagorgio is and what that reference is. And, I like to use compare and contrasts. It's a choice to be made, right? I'm going to continue that thought. I guess I found my thread. I guess I kind of know where this ramble is going. You can be a rusty, and that's fine. Like the average person who walks into a casino, the average person in Vegas for the first or second time, or somebody who comes once every few years, or, once a year, their crazy uncle convinces them to go to the casino for an evening, they're a rusty. And that's fine. The world needs rusties. Those of us who are not rusties need plenty of rusties to provide for the rest of us. But a lot of the rest of us like being a Papagorgio. We like knowing some people who know some people. We like knowing some things about some things. Our game is a little bit elevated above that of a civilian, a tourist, a rusty. We know a little bit about more what's going on. And then the other part of this is, if you're playing at a level where you have a host, or you're deciding to get involved in some of the cruising that I'm doing through Premier Casino Hosting, and you're letting us schedule some things for you, you kind of need to be a Papagorgio, not a rusty. You need to realize that all of this is an opinion. Opinion. I could be wrong at any time. But the casino industry pretty much runs still like it's kind of an old school mobbed up place. The original casinos in Las Vegas and to an extent Atlantic City, it kind of were outside the law a little bit, kind of outside the rules. They knew each other and they operated around who they knew and who knew who and who knew what. And as you get involved with casinos more, I've told you this, everything is negotiable. Every rule is the rule until it isn't. Everything is what you have to do till you know somebody and they say you don't have to. And it operates better, I find for me, let me say that, I'm choosing my words carefully here. I find for me that things operate better if I realize that the industry is still that way. And I need to give you some examples. I need to think of some examples here. The industry is still that way. The industry still operates on this is exactly how it is until it's not. And you can either use that to your advantage or use that to your disadvantage. And it's going to make you uncomfortable a little bit or it made me uncomfortable, and I've noticed it, I've observed it making others uncomfortable. And if you can get comfortable in that discomfort, if you can accept that that's kind of the way things are, it can be a lot of fun. And it can be an area where you do feel a lot of comfort. Let me try to come up with some examples here. Checking out of hotel rooms. Yeah, I'm going to throw the label wise guys on this, and I don't mean that in the mafioso sense. I mean that more in just people who know, people who understand, people who do this at something more than a tourist level. We've talked about this a little bit before. Wise guys, people who know. We don't check out of hotels in the resort sense, in the casino sense. You don't check out. You just leave. And you call your guy or your gal, you call your person, whether that's an in-house host or an out-of-house host, and you tell them you're leaving and you tell them to take a look at your play, and they say, I will, we'll take a look, we'll see what we can do. You don't check out and finalize the folio and get a receipt. You've made it tougher on everybody. That's not what the cool kids do, at least right now in 2025. You walk, you let your people know you're walking, they take care of you. And frustratingly, the industry, because it operates on handshakes and who you knows and winks and this and that, and I've had this happen in so many different ways. I had this happen 15 or 20 years ago, walking out of Caesar's Palace, and I didn't check out. I went down to the host on duty because I certainly didn't have or deserve a host. And I said, hey, we've been around for a few days. We had some room charges, played a little bigger than usual. I was hoping you'd take a look. And he took my card and gave me his business card and ran my numbers and said, okay, yeah, we'll take a look. You know, things will hit eventually. We'll take a look at things. We'll get some stuff taken off for you. Do you want to use any of your reward points? I said, no, leave the reward points alone. I'll want those in Atlantic City. And he said, great, you're all taken care of. I've got a business card. I got a piece of cardboard. And I leave and I get to the airport and I get on the plane and I get home late and I take a look the next day and the day after that, and the charges have hit my credit card, and my reward credits are gone, and the bill hasn't changed significantly, and a tourist would be making a phone call at that point. A Rusty is making a phone call at that point, and I didn't. I just made sure I dug through my luggage, made sure I had that card, stuck it on the pin board, and didn't do too much with it. Just let it kind of sit there. And sure enough, a few days later, my reward points are all back. And my credit card bill has gone down by a little bit, which means he took care of not only what could have been comped with points, but also took care of some extra comps on top of that. But it probably took the better part of a week. And that's tough. That is tough to get used to. Or I was talking to Nakatomi Tony. PCH is doing a birthday party coming up the beginning of March. Nakatomi Tony's thinking of going out. I'm thinking of going out. And we were told it's going to be at the Plaza. And then we were told, not quite sure. Looking at some other options, might not be at the Plaza. And understandably, he's feeling a little unsettled. Do I book the airfare? Do I not book the airfare? Am I going to have a place to stay? If they change the place to stay, am I going to be able to get in? Or is my score going to be all that anxiety, all of that kind of rusty anxiety I don't know. How does this work? And what I tried to express to him, and I believe it because I've just seen it to be true over and over. And I told him, I said, I'm not his rep. I'm happy to rep him, but officially within the company, I'm not his rep. And I said, you're a Michael guy. If you tell Michael you're going to go and Michael says you're good, go ahead and book your plane tickets. Because if Michael says you're good, you're good. You may not get a confirmation number. It's not like you're going to have a reservation. Michael's going to maybe have a block of rooms. I said, but in all of my experience, and I've been through a couple of those, I went through one where Eric just said, oh, you're good. Come on out. And I'm looking at a perfectly good comped room, and he's saying, no, come join us, you're good. And I'm in the back of my head going, I don't have a confirmation number, I just got the word of a guy I barely know, and it was great. I had a room, it was a great room, I had a great time, stuff got comped off on the back end that, quite frankly, I'm not sure I think I deserved. That is that we all know each other, we all take care of each other. They've got a contract. They know people. Those people know what to expect from them. They know it. It's that Mr. Papagorgio energy. It's that it's all going to be fine. I'm just going to go with it. This analogy is turning out to be, this model is turning out to be way better than I realized it could have been when I came into this, right? The difference between that Rusty energy and that Mr. Papagorgio energy. It's all fine. It's all good. If somebody within the PCH family told you you're good, you're good. And if you're not sure, double check and say, just checking in, we're still good. Cool. The other part of that is that all of this industry works on relationships, and they all know each other behind the scenes. And they've all known each other for years, and they know each other. If they haven't known each other for years, they've known each other by reputation for years. And it's all very business as usual and all of that, as I've said before, until it's not. And you want to make sure, as a Papagorgio, not a Rusty, that you stay in that lane if things aren't exactly what you want them to be, right? Rusty energy is to go to the rewards desk and want a solution. And you're not going to necessarily get one in most cases or be real happy. Papagorgio energy is calling the guy you know, calling a host that you know, calling a knowledgeable person that you know, and getting some advice. And that's often going to be to go through your connections, use who you know, say, hey, can we do something about this? It's a different thing. It's a more wise guy approach. It's a more aware of the world approach to things. And I've been introduced to all that. I've been fortunate enough through this podcast, people treat me differently at casinos where they know what I do. Particularly places like my local casino, my home casino, some of the places in Atlantic City that I've gone regularly. I've said I get a little extra leeway. I get some slightly different rules. I get some slightly different nods. People know who I am. And I don't mean that as in, do you know who I am? No, I mean that with Papagorgio energy, not Rusty energy. I carry myself with a certain bit of professionalism. It is a blessing. It is a privilege. Being able to work with PCH, Premier Casino Hosting, at my level of play is a gift. My play does not, for the most part, rise to the level that it really is worthy of their attention, their contracts, their connections, the things that they can do and have done on behalf of my wife and I. I'm right at that edge. I am right at that up and down. If I'm having a good run and I'm playing on house money, I'm a customer that kind of just crosses the line and fits the mold. And if it's going a bit rough and Mrs. TRG is sitting some out, I'm kind of just below the line, in my opinion. They never said this to me. They would never say that to me, or to any of us. But I want to bring the Papagorgio energy in working with them. I don't want to be a Rusty. I want to be in that place of gratitude. If you think about him, he is. And I want to be in the place of working with, helping out, contributing in other ways. I want to make them look good. I want to put shine on them as a thank you for what they've done to me. I want to operate as if I'm someone who knows. Likewise, when I'm not necessarily at a PCH place, but at my local casino, I want to come across as professional, competent, capable, knows what's what. Few extra please and thank yous to the staff. If I can calm somebody down from the player side who's getting a little worked up, if I can say something that gets somebody a compliment, if I can be an inside member of the team a little bit, not to kiss up, but to be someone who knows. If I can give somebody some direction, if I can give somebody some guidance, if I can help them out with something, either help the in-house team or help the players, I want to try to do that. I want to try to operate as a Papagorgio. And so I guess to wrap this whole rambling thought up, to bring this all home, if you're a podcast listener, if you're someone who has decided to work with me or work with Premier Casino Hosting, if you're someone who has tried to leverage comps and gifts to tip that balance of things a little bit in your favor, I guess you have a decision to make. Are you a tourist? Are you a Rusty? Is that the energy you're going to bring? Is that what you're going to try to convey? Or are you a Papagorgio? Which side of that are you going to be on? And then I'll throw in there, look, there is nothing wrong with being a Papagorgio on the inside who gives Rusty energy as cover, someplace you've never been, someplace that doesn't know you. You can certainly give Rusty energy to try to increase your ADT because you don't want them to know you're a skilled player. But that's still Papagorgio energy. That's still knowing that you know what's what. It's still knowing that you know how things go. It's trying to make things easier for everybody, so maybe they make things a little easier for you. It's that Papagorgio energy. So I guess I didn't know where I was going, and that's where we came out. And maybe this will end up being being a favorite for some of you. Maybe it will, or maybe you'll think it's junk and a stupid analogy, and you're welcome to let me know which it is. But that is our question, I think, for today's virtual VIP lounge. I prefer to be a Papagorgio, not a Rusty. I want to try to make things smoother for myself by making things smoother for everybody else. By being someone who knows what's what, and knows who's who, and knows how to work with my who's who to get the what that I'm looking for.
Please, tip your waitresses, tip your bartenders, tip your dealers. If you have a host, tip your host, but don't tip away your wins. TRG has spoken. Everything you heard here is true from a certain point of view. In 10 years, we may find out he was wrong about all of this. It's time for leaving, and I hope you understand. TRG was born a ramblin' man. Love it, hate it, it don't matter. Please share with your family and friends. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you for listening. The best part of the podcast is next. The Casino Combat Blues. Thank you again to Fish Audio for providing my glorious voice. Special thank you to my original actress, author, Julia Tverdovskaya.
For Atlantic City Empress, Casino Combat's ace. There are profits in the casino tonight, I can feel it in my bones. I had a premonition, you should probably play alone. I know the house has an advantage, but that's part of the thrill. If we follow the core concepts, the chips begin to spill. So baby, here's your player's card, put your bankroll in your hand. Use just some of that money now, do it just the way we planned. Just follow the core concepts and you could win several grand. and we don't need to go away. We can gamble in Atlantic City, we can gamble in LA, we can gamble out in Vegas. I mean, we're here to stay. Gambling's propping up the budgets of folks like me and you. You ask any casino manager, he'll say there's nothing he can do. From the pockets of the casino right down to